Good evening. Let us today talk about UV stuff, creating your own textures and materials, and a 1 hour model that you have as an assignment for this week. Um, I don't have anything else to say, so let's begin. UV editing. We touched on this in the 3D Basics class. I'll just kind of refresh your memory a little bit about what this even means, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about how people use UV to create their own textures and also to kind of make image textures that you find on the internet or elsewhere look their best on your model. So we have our cube here, and Blender has a UV editing workspace. So let's just see what this is doing here. So this default cube is already unwrapped for us. So actually, let's go back to layout mode real quick, layout workspace. And if you add something into your scene with the Shift A menu, let's add in a cube. If you open up your add menu, a lot of these primitives have a generate UVs default. So actually, if I uncheck this, I believe if I go over to UV editing, you can see yes. This is not UV unwrapped. And to unwrap something, it's quite simply pressing the U key and hitting unwrap. Now, one thing that has happened now is that it unwrapped, I believe it just unwrapped everything all together, which isn't exactly what we wanted. Yeah, it unwrapped each piece separately. So actually, let me undo this real quick. Undo. The other option is Smart UV Project. There's kind of some parameters in here, but it attempts to universally size all the different polygons, or like relatively, I shouldn't say universally, relatively size the polygons based on their size on the mesh. But what does this even mean? Let me actually go. Let's go back. Let's go back to layout. I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Let's add a cube in here and let's generate the UVs because I feel like that T is a good place to discuss. So the goal of UV wrapping is to make your image textures evenly kind of stretched and sized as you wrap them around an object. So before you even put an image texture onto, before some modelers put an image texture onto a material on their surface, oftentimes they'll put sort of like a little reference on here. So we're just going to create a new image texture right here in Blender. So in our UV editing workspace along the top here, we can create a new image. Let's hit that. Let's call this like, UV reference. And 1024 by 1024 is a good size. And rather than generate type blank, let's do please select UV grid and hit OK. So it creates a grid, like a checkerboard here, that can, with like different colors, symbols on here. And this can help us identify how our image texture is being stretched around an object. So over here on our cube, we just need to apply this material. Let's add a new material here on the cube. Change our base color. Rather than just a color, we want an image texture. And we will select our UV reference image from this dropdown here. Not new or open, hit this one on the left here. And we want to select UV reference. That's the one we just made on the left. And then of course, we're just in object mode. Is that what it's called? Why can I never remember? Hit the Z key, solid mode. We're currently in solid mode. We can do either rendered or material preview. And this will show us our image texture on there. Okay, great. So the goal, like I said, is to have all of or well, we want our image texture to be spread evenly around our 3D object. So if we're looking at squares here, we want them to look, these little squares to look square on the square, on the cube. So because this cube is perfectly square, this looks correct. And we can see that, our kind of orange icons here continuing around the edge, everything looks nice and even, and it looks good. Now, if I'm in edit mode and I go 3 for face select and select this one, and I go GZ down like this, you can see that now I've squished it. And our squares are looking squished. That's because by editing this, if I hit A over here, our unwrapped UV is still showing squares here. So what you could do is you could, select these and G kind of move them like this to try to get things looking square again. And actually that doesn't look too bad if I do it like this. But that may not be perfect, and you can see I haven't quite exactly lined things up along here. So I could undo that. You could try to unwrap again. You could go U, Smart UV Project, see what this does. Yeah, and that actually does okay here. But the difference between just regular unwrap and Smart UV Project is that when you do Smart UV Project, every face is like separate, usually. So you can see like here, if I do A to select all, this is just sort of like slopped them all together. So actually like a couple of these vertices are connected, but like otherwise, they're all just separate pieces. And maybe that's good for you, because maybe you don't want your material to continue around the corners, or maybe you do. So that's where marking seams comes into play. So let me just undo all of this. So think back to your cereal box example, or box of whatever, your Amazon Prime box when you ordered a new set of steak knives. But that there is one part where they kind of glue the box onto each other, or kind of back onto itself to kind of actually make it a box. And if you're throwing your box in the recycling, hopefully you're flattening it. But that's usually where you kind of can tear it, because there's a seam, and then it'll flop open and lay flat. So we can mark seams on our object here. We can tell Blender, say like, yep, this is where we want a seam. And you can tell it where to do that. So here we're in edit mode. I'm gonna hit 2. Oh, and I should probably turn this on key and stroke. There it is. Let's go. You can select edges and right click and say mark seam, and it'll turn it this red color. And this is telling Blender, yep, this is where we want a seam when you unwrap it. So I'm just gonna like do kind of a funky unwrap here and see what this does. So you kind of got to plan ahead, like how is this, if I'm gonna open this box, what's it gonna look like? And actually, I think, do I have one too many? I was thinking I wanted it to be one piece. I think I just need to unselect that one, and then we'll have, it doesn't really matter. I can unselect this one and select this one like that, maybe. Let's try this one. So now I'm going to hit A to select all. I'm going to go U and unwrap. So, okay, so when you're marking seams, you want unwrap, because that'll kind of unfold everything according to your seams. If you do Smart UV Project, it'll do it just like this again. It'll just like pull every single face off and slap it on there relative to its size. So I'm going to hit U, unwrap. Oh, goodness. Now this is a nightmare. What did I do here? Let me just undo that, and let me just make sure that I've got, maybe I had something weird selected, because this should be a pretty nice unwrapping. Let's do A and do U and unwrap. Okay, I don't know what that was about. Here we go. Now this is a nice little happy unwrap. So Because I marked the seams and because I made it as one piece, it kind of, I have edges continuing where I want them to, and others where I don't. And this is a happy unwrapping here. Uh, it is kind of cool that it turned it sideways too, so you can see that all my squares are turned 90 degrees, 45 degrees. But like you can see the yellow pattern is continuing. Yeah, so this looks good. So just like some general ideas when you're unwrapping things. Start with places that you won't see. So like another way you could do this, let me just do A and right click and say clear seam. Another way you could do this, so like think about where this is going to be rendered and what parts of this is going to be seen. And I'm going to use a practical example for this in a little bit. So like if this was a chunk of marble, you wouldn't want to have any seams like that are visible, because like if it's a sculpture that's marble and it's made out of one giant piece of marble, there wouldn't be seams. You wouldn't have like edges of pattern where you're matching two pieces of marble together, because I think the thought is that it's carved out of one piece of marble. So a good place to put a seam would be like on the bottom, or like better yet, you maybe wouldn't even put the marble on the bottom. But you can mark the bottom like this. You can do U. Whoops, not unwrap. You could do U. Nope, not U. Just right click and mark seam. And then maybe if like the camera, like if this is going to be the camera right here, Control Alt number pad 0, then maybe you can just mark all these ones on the back as a seam here. So you could go like hold these ones down. This is all a seam on the back here. So you can right click and mark seam. And then that way, so like if this is our camera view, you know, you're not going to see any edges along the backside. And these three might be a little bit stretched, but you're not going to see any edges. So like, if I do A to select all and then U and then unwrap. Yeah, so you can see that we've got some different pieces here. So this actually has how this has been unwrapped this time. These are two different islands. To select an island in your UV editor, you hit the L key while your mouse is over it, and then you can G grab it and move it like this if you need to. So looking at these three, you can see over here on the left in the UV editor, like it's a little bit stretched. It's a little bit wonky, but there aren't any seams. You can see like the pink pattern just kind of continues right over the edge here. This green one, you know, continues. So it's not, these aren't perfectly square, but unless you're using something that has perfect squares on it, maybe, you know, maybe it's fine. So let me like use maybe a little better example on here to illustrate why this is helpful. Okay, so I just went to Polyhaven and I downloaded this rock texture, and I'm gonna put this on, and so that we can kind of see like why seams are good and bad on here. So let me actually extract this real quick. All right, so let's see if we can piece this together and in our shading workspace. So, all right, principled BSDF. So first, let's get our object data. Search for data, not camera data. Sorry, it's we want the texture coordinates are the inputs we want. So we're going to search for texture coordinate. Great. And so what previously when we used this, I think we took the object out of here. So this mapped the noise out from the it mapped the noise that we were creating onto the coordinates of the material on the object. I mean, it's maybe kind of hard to follow, or it was taking the mesh. So we can also grab the UV, which is kind of what we're talking about here. So from the UV, we need a mapping node. So if I go Shift A, Oops, in here, Shift A, we're going to search, this one's called, it's just mapping like this. So this takes we take the UV, the coordinates of our UV, and plug it into the vector. And then this is going to be the vector that we use for everything. So, whoops, this just goes right into vector here like this. Okay. Now, we can just start bringing in our rock thing. So, rather than our UV reference image, we go to Fault 22. This is the modeling class. I have this in rock textures. This is the diff, rock diff. So we should start to see it here. We go to material preview. Let's go to cycles as well, just so we can start to see it. The other thing too, probably before we start to go too crazy, is let's just edit this a little bit. What if we just do a control? Whoops, let's go back into object mode. Let's give this a control 3 just for fun. No, that's too much. Oh gosh. Undo. Let's go to edit mode, and I just want to select these three faces, or these three edges here. Oh, and I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the front here. This is the one we want. 2 for edge select. Oh, I'm doing my CPU. GPU compute, please. There we go. Select these 3. Let's bevel. Just a little bit, just so we can get like a little bit of a rounded rock like that. And let's change the segments to like 5. Okay. Just so it's like rounded rock. There we go. Object mode. Here we are. Okay. Now we can add our other things in here. So we need another image texture like this. We're going to take the vector out of our texture coordinate and the UV map. Let's open up. Let's see what else we got in here. Fall 2022 modeling class, rock, textures. We have the displacement. Let's bring that one in next. So then displacement has to go into a displacement node. Displacement. And then we take the color out of here, and that goes into the height. And then this goes into our displacement on here. Okay, yeah, we're getting rocky. And then what else we got? Let's add another one. Shift A, add a texture, image texture. Take the vector out of there. Let's open this one. Let's go find our textures folder. So this part can be a little slow on textures. We also have the normal. Let's open that. And that just goes right into the normal here. Right? No, sorry, we need a normal map. So if I go Shift A, normal map, and just plug that right on there. Yeah, there we go. So that what the normal map node does is it converts, you know, a normal image texture into like actual normal data. Tangent space, is that right? Yeah, I think that's good. And then finally, what's the last one? Shift A, there's one more image texture. Let's open this one up. It is the class rock textures, the rough. So let's open that. Get the vector way out of here. It's looking small. Plug that in there. Whoops. I think if you do control space, yeah, it makes this full screen, so we can kind of rearrange a little bit. Make this a little tighter. Vector out of here, down into there. Okay. And the roughness just goes right into the roughness on the BSDF, this one. Where's the roughness? There it is. Okay, cool. Let's see how this looks. Oh, yes. Very good. So, let's see how we did. Now, remember, let's go back to our UV editing here. So let's go back to Z render preview like this over here. Cool. So our red spots are where there were seams, and the gray or the black is just where the what do you call it? Our regular edges are. So with something like this, something that is like natural looking, you wouldn't on something that's one piece, you wouldn't have like hard edges on certain areas. So we definitely want the pattern to continue around this corner. So looking at how this is unwrapped over here, can I do this? Yeah. So, we can see that, and I'm just I'm reiterating a little bit, and I realize my head has probably been like kind of obnoxious. That, it's not evenly spaced, but because it's something that is like sort of unnatural, actually maybe I can just, but that like you can't really tell that the rock texture is actually being stretched more on the back than it is on the front. And same thing goes with the top here. You can't really tell that this is a good texture, by the way. It's like a little shiny wet. You can't really tell that it's being stretched further on the back than it is in this front corner here. So that's a reason to be, what am I trying to say? It's a reason to I guess take the extra time to like be thoughtful about your edges and where they're being seen and not seen. Now, the other cool thing that you can do with UV maps is to like save yourself some modeling time and do add some detail without actually like modeling and sculpting and stuff like that. And so, if you think back to the pirate ship that we talked about last week, I was actually just kind of looking at the different image textures for that, and actually like take a look at this. This is the aft one. But like this is an image texture for the pirate ship. So they just laid out all of these different things on to one image, and this is actually like it's pretty slick, and it's pretty cool because like you don't need so you need to design all of these different pieces, but then you can just slop them together on one image texture, and you only have to load it once, and then you've got it. So this is something that happens a lot in video games, especially like older video games, 90s video games, that they were really limited on like memory space and things like that. So they had to like cram as many different like materials onto one image texture, and they would kind of like tile them and repeat them. This would happen a lot. So like imagine the game Doom. There were only so many different hallways that you would go down, and they would just like a lot of the like patterns on the walls would just repeat over and over. Actually, let's see if I can look this up real quick. Yeah, so like here's like an example of Doom, the Doom, like going down a Doom hallway. This is one of the first shooters. Many you guys have probably never played this, but like you can see that there's like 2 or 3 different things on the wall. It's like green wall with light, green wall with pipes, and then it's like ceiling. And so like you'd have the image texture that would load for this level on Doom would have all of these different squares of all the different things, and it's like, and then there's one for floor, and they would just map out different pieces and like repeat them over and over again. But you could still build like a world with only just a handful of things that you could use over and over again in different patterns, different arrangements. But now, obviously, with more computing power, and you can still have, or you can do a lot more, have a lot more like exciting visuals, and you can still have your game or piece of art be really lean and efficient by having things grouped together on image textures and stuff like this. So let's talk how you could do something like this. So really, actually, just for fun, let's bring this in, um, and play with it a little bit. So I'm gonna go back to object mode. I'm gonna delete this. Even though I went through all the hassle just to get that lined. Actually, you can still use that material if we want to. Anyway, okay, sorry. Close that too. Let's get a new cube going in here. Cube. And over here, let's just open that image texture from the boat fall. Modeling, it's in rock textures for some reason. Ship, let's see. So we want aft. Aft diff. There we go. Open. Okay, cool. And on our box, let's do a new material. Let's do surface base color, image texture, and let me just open aft diff. There we go. Okay. Looking at this in edit mode, we can see we have which button here? Okay, so this one here, UV sync selection. This button on the top left with the two arrows, this is going to, whichever one you select, whichever thing you select over here, it'll select it in the other window as well. So if I go 3 for face select, I want this one. Okay. So we can see here, what I kind of want to do is I want to put this loosed in, kind of front and center here. First off, it's sideways. If I hit A, we can just go R90 like this. And G, you can kind of move it like this. Oh, but it's the other way. R minus 90. Oops. Just R, just rotate like this. Till it's close. Okay, G, there we go. S scale. So, you can make it happen. You can put specific things in specific places on your UV map. So it says Leusden right there. Don't forget, if you've got islands, L selects the whole thing, and then S can scale it, or G to move it. This isn't the perfect example. But let's actually let's see if, so let's say you have skill in another sort of graphic design program like Photoshop or Illustrator or Microsoft Paint. How would you do something like that? So here on the left side we have the UV menu, and you can actually export the UV layout here. So it says export UV layout to file. So you can select the format, you can make it an SVG, an EPS, or a PNG, depending on your, model or program of choice. So like if you're doing Illustrator or Photoshop or something, or you can just do PNG like this. And you can choose a pixel size and also choose your fill opacity. So you can do that. Export layout, and then I actually don't really know where it went. Oh, it's thinking. It's freezing or something. Where did that even go? Oh, it went into my document. So let me open this up. It's called Cube. Here we go. Did it do anything? Let's open this with Microsoft Paint. Open with Paint. It didn't. Okay, let's try this again. I think I maybe need to have A all selected, and actually, you know what? I think I do think so. Hold on. Let's close this. I think you do need to have it like in the window here. And now let's do this. UV. Export UV layout. Let's actually put this in our modeling class folder. This will be cube PNG. All UVs. Oh, I think I didn't check all UVs. So we've got 496, 48 by 496, fill opacity 25%. That's fine. All UVs, export UV layout. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Now let's see what this looks like. File 22, modeling class, cube. There it is. Aha! We've done it. So now you can start to have fun with this. So like maybe if you like have Photoshop, you can definitely do that. And it helps. You can have different layers and things like that. But I'm actually just gonna kind of do this in Paint because it's the easiest or the simplest for right now. So, you know, you can just do simple thing like this example could be like, whoops, no. Like you can make dice like this. Now I want color 2 to be black. I think this is maybe the example that I did before. How many dots? I was being serious about it the first time. The first one, but then I stopped being serious. And then all you do is you save it. And then back here, you open it. Let's see, File 22, modeling class. This is called Cube PNG, open image. There it is. And then we just gotta apply it here. Cube. There we go. And then you have it. So like this, like I said, you know, you can spend more time adding real amounts of or real details. So like let's say okay, that's a super simple example. Now let me model something like just a little bit more complicated. So we'll start with the cube. Remember those old like CRT monitors? Let's do something like that. So let's see. You could do tab for edit. I'm gonna do Control R for loop cut. I'm gonna like slide it up like this. I'm going to go 3 for face select. I'm gonna get. I want this. I just want to get the edges here. I'm gonna extrude like. No, I want extrude along normals, please. Extrude. Did it? Oops, not that one. Extrude along normals. There we go. You know, it's just like a bulky CRT monitor. 3W. Extrude inner like that. And then select this one and just scale this down. Okay. And then actually, let's do like SX like this, just so it's a little fatter. Okay. Save. So, you could have, let me turn off X-ray select. So if I had a seam here, let's go to UV editing. Close this, I don't need any of this. I would probably go for 2 for edge select, and I would want just this part of the screen to be like a separate island. So I'd probably right click, mark seam here like this. And then like, you know, who cares about the rest, honestly. So then I'd go A, and I'd go U, unwrap. Great. So, okay. So, then let me save this. So let's go UV menu, export UV layout. Save this in my Fall 2022 folder, modeling class. I could call this CRT monitor. Export UV layouts, PNG. Okay, great. Then I'd go find it. It takes just a second for it to export. It's thinking. There it is. Okay, CRT monitor. Open with Paint. Okay. So this is our screen here. This is like the CRT, or like the body of the monitor. So you could do something like, Alright, get the paintbrush, make it bigger. Actually, even just do like fill. Where's my fill tool? Bucket. Give this the like cream color that CRT monitors were in the 90s. Do you guys even know what I'm talking about when I say CRT monitor? And then you can make this a black screen and it's got green text. And it's like now hacking. No, it'd be all lowercase. Now hacking the Pentagon. What was that movie? War Games. War Games. I'm coding. This is like the Matrix. And then find a good font. Find a good 90s font. What's a good hacker 90s font? You guys ever see that movie Hackers? Can you believe I'm spending so much time looking for a font in a 3D modeling class? Turn it up a little bit. That's 36, I got 48. Bold. There we go. How do you move a text box in Paint? There we go. Okay. Save this. Save it. Okay. And now open this up. Fall 2022, modeling class, CRT monitor, open image. Great, there it is. Okay, and now over here, new material, base color, image texture, and then we want CRT monitor. Oh, but it's sideways, but that's fine. So this part here, move it over here. So then all you have to do is you have to just select this one. Over here, tab, edit mode, select this one, 3 for face select. You just gotta rotate this. And scale it a little bit. So you might have to, a little bit. Now hacking the Pentagon. Cool. And maybe you take, well, it'd be tricky to make this just this particular part a mission. So you might have 2 different materials, but yeah, I bet you could figure out how to do that with the node editor, just to make this one emission. But anyway, so that's just that's just some of the interesting things that you can do with UV editing. All right, this week I have a 1 hour model for you. This one is 1 hour model number 5. You have a week and change. I'll probably extend the deadline for this one as well. But what I'd like you to model for number 5 is some headphones. So it could be headphones like mine. These are some Sennheiser headphones that I've had for about 10 years, actually 10 years. And they just recently busted. And so I don't know if I might try to sew it back together because I really like these ones. I've had them for a long time. So it could be headphones like this, or maybe you're like an AirPods or earbuds person. But just whatever you use to listen to things in your ears, give me a model of that. Don't spend too much time on it, but think about what kind of shapes you'd use, maybe what kind of materials they are, like if you've got little leather things like this or wires or whatever. But don't spend more than an hour on it. Again, these are just to kind of get you thinking about different kinds of models, starting models, finishing models, and just seeing what you can get done within an hour. Don't kill yourself to get this done. Anyway, that's about it. Another shorter one. These will probably get a little bit shorter as we go through the rest of the year. Not continue to get shorter, but we probably won't have ones that are over an hour for the rest of the semester. Anyway, we're just at about 40 minutes, so I think that's a good time and place to end it for today. let's see. Let me just pull up the schedule real quick. Um, yeah, so your assignment 2, so please continue to work on your assignment 2, which is to use that ship model and give me some different renders of the ship. We'll zoom again next week just to kind of catch up, see if you've got any questions or anything like that. But otherwise, also don't forget to start thinking about your final project too. We'll kind of begin that before too long. Think about something really cool that you want to model for your final. Okay, that's all. Signing off. Goodbye.